So we're going to learn Torah or, apparently, until we decide otherwise.
Okay.
Because this is the second year we're learning Torah or.
Okay.
There's still my marm that we haven't learned. So one of them is on page 14. Yaval, hu haya avi Yoshev olu mikneh. One of the one of the grandchildren of Cain was a guy by the name of Yaval.
Yuval or Yuval?
Yaval, it says.
There's two people. There was Yuval and Yuval Cain.
Sometimes it's called Yaval, sometimes it's called Yuval.
They see the same as Yuval Cain? That's somebody else.
No, that's somebody else even. If we're already saying this, at least let's see it inside, so that we know who we're talking about. Nope.
He was big on the trombone, no?
Yeah.
He was descendant of Shem?
No, he's a no.
Shem?
We're long before that. We're the descendants of Cain. Okay. Let's read the whole portion. So Cain was sent from before Hashem. Vayetze Cain milifnei Hashem, chapter 4, verse 16.
And he wandered.
Vayesha be'eretz not kidmat Eden. He lived in the land of wandering, which is east of Eden. Vayeda Cain et ishto. He had procreative relations with his wife. Vatar vateled et Chanoch. So the first child he has, his name is Chanoch. There's 4 Chanochs in the Torah. Just in the Torah there's 4. So he's the first one. Vayi boneh ir. So it's not clear, but it seems that it was Cain who built the city, the first city, and he called the city by the name of his son Chanoch. Vayivaled leChanoch et Irad. And Chanoch, his child was Irad, and Irad yalad et Mechuyael. Irad's son was Mechuyael, and Mechuyael yalad et Metushael. So he had another son, Metushael. So we're 4 generations in. Cain, Chanoch, Irad, Mechuyael, Metushael. 5th generation. Doesn't make sense to me because I'm missing one. Cain, Chanoch, Irad, Mechuyael, Metushael, and then Lemech. Right, no, now it makes sense. So Lemech had 2 wives. Lemech, the 6th generation from Cain. There was another Lemech on the other side, from Shet. And his 10th generation was Noach. Okay? Meaning the 10th generation from Shet, from Adam, was Noach.
This Lemech is the one who killed Cain.
And this is the Lemech that killed Cain. He's the 7th generation from Adam. On Cain's side, he's the last generation. He has a daughter and he has sons. The daughter is Naamah, and she is the wife of Noach. So her father's name is Lemech. And Noach's father's name is also Lemech. Except that there are 2 different Lemechs. One is the 7th generation from Adam through Cain, and the other is the 10th generation from Adam through Seth. Vayikach lo Lemech shtei nashim. So Lemech had 2 wives. At that time they took 2 wives. Shem achat Ada v'shem hasheni Tzila. Vateled Ada et Yaval. So Ada's first child was named Yaval. Hu haya avi Yoshev olu mikneh. He was the first shepherd, the father of all shepherds. V'shem achiv Yuval. And the name of his brother was Yuval. 2 different people, Yaval and Yuval.
Avel was a shepherd.
Who?
Cain's brother.
Right. So they took over. They're the 8th generation from Adam. They took over Abel's, call it his lifestyle. And this guy Yaval, so there's Yuval, who's the shepherd, and he has a brother who's the father of all instrument makers, of all those who play instruments. Vetzila, and his other wife, she also had a son, and his name was Tuval Cain, and he was the first one to make things out of copper and out of iron. And he had a sister, Achot Tuval Cain. Her name was Naamah. Okay, so that's a mishpachologia. That's the last they were the last generation of Cain's descendants. No more
They
descendants.
saw Adam Marisha?
What?
Did he see Adam Marisha?
Did they see him? Yeah. Seems that they saw him. Okay. So Hina Amru Razal. So the sages said, Kol Baalei Ashir yotzim b'shir. There's a famous Mishnah that says, it's in, if I'm not mistaken, Baba Kama. Right? Because the question is, or in Shabbos, let's just see, make sure that it's in Shabbos. It's dealing with the question of how an animal can be taken out or can go out by itself on Shabbos. Meaning, okay, right. There's a whole series of chapters about how. Which chapter? Yeah. Shabbos Nun Aleph Bet. And the question is, how can an animal go out on Shabbos and not be violating the different Rashuyot? The four different, what do you call them? How do you say them in English? Rashuyot. The four different areas. So they're talking about something else. A shir is really a collar. It's really what it means. And it's called that apparently because it's round. So what other words do we have that are similar? So we have like sahal. Sahal is the moon, which is also round. So shin reish switches with samech reish, sahal. But it also means song. So even though the pshat of the Mishnah is that an animal can go out with its collar, and transporting that collar is not considered a violation of moving something from one area to another on Shabbos, call it the associated meaning.
Area of jurisdiction, right?
Yeah. The associated meaning is that anything that's permanently or usually on an animal, on a person, and they're not going to take off, okay? So those things are considered to be part of the body, as it were, and so there's no violation of taking them out from one reshut to the other. Pirush. So, but if we understand it according to the non-literal meaning, which is that all the masters, all those who have song, come out with song. The meaning is, Pirush kol b'chinat ha'ala mimahut lemahut, kmo migan eden ha'tachton legan eden ha'elyon v'chadome or yadei ashir. So in the same way that we have the different areas of Shabbos dividing this world up into whether it's private property or it belongs to the many, to the public, or whether it's like the desert where there's really no jurisdiction, or whether it's none of these and then it's called a makom patur. It's really too small an area to really be considered something separate. In the same way, we can say that spiritually there are different jurisdictions. So when something wants to move from Gan Eden, from the lower Gan Eden to the higher Gan Eden, meaning he's already in a good state. Sort of reminds me of a statement somebody once said about drinking. Never drink to feel good. Only drink to feel better. And so if you already feel good, you're already in Gan Eden, and you want to go up to a higher level of Gan Eden, so a drink can help you. The same idea here, that if somebody wants to go from a good state to an even better state, from one state of pleasure to a higher state of pleasure, the way to do it, hu al yadei ashir, is by song.
I used to say that a goy drinks to forget, and a Jew drinks to remember.
Okay. Shehu b'chinat bitul hayesh. So the song, really what it does, what it's symbolizing here, is the nullification of one's being. Nullification. What does it mean, the nullification of one's being? כנודע שלא יוכל להתהוות מיש ליש, אלא אם כן נעשה היש בתחילה בחינת העין. That nothing can move from one state to another unless in the middle it experiences a state of nullification. What's the main example of this? כמשל הגרעין הנזרע בארץ. I skipped the line, I'll come right back to it. As the seed that goes into the ground first has to be nullified. And its nullification is it's rotting. Is it's becoming, seems like it's in a worse state than it was before.
That's the outer part of the seed. The inner part turns into the plant.
Okay, so what we're saying is that the yesh, the feeling has to be removed. And when the feeling of being is removed, something else is revealed. What's revealed? The non-being. And again, now we're not talking here about turning pieces of wood into a table. Those pieces of wood don't need to be nullified in order to turn into a table. On the other hand, if you look at a tree, and you say, I want to turn this tree into a table, so there is a certain process of nullification that it has to go through, which is to cut it down. When you cut it down, you've severed it, as it were, from its life force. And then you're bringing it back in a different way. But that's not so good. Why? Because it's not so clear that something really came out of the tree that wasn't there before. It wasn't the form that you gave it from yourself. That form was hidden inside the seed originally. You didn't bring it in there. What did you do? You added some water. So that's what he says here. There has to be some additional blessing, some additional input that brings out that deeper form. So I think I told you this. I was reading Herbert Weiner's 9.5 Mystics over the Chagim. Did I tell you about this?
So you were reading that, but it became Freeman then.
Apparently, I guess I don't think it was from them. He was here in Eretz Yisrael and he built the Reform University. It was very close to the Rabbi in the end. I didn't know you knew him. So
no, I never met him personally.
So I had this book around for like 2 years. I lent it from somebody. I lent it for a different reason. There was something else I wanted to read. And suddenly I'm looking through it, and I see that there is a whole chapter on Lubavitch. He writes beautifully. He really writes beautifully.
He had a headache the day he went into the He was sick.
He was sick.
Yeah.
But the thing that struck me the most is that he, in the second Yechidus, he asked the Rebbe, what does a bracha mean? What do you mean when you give a bracha? So the Rebbe said, better that I should tell you what the Lubavitcher Rebbes say they mean when they give a bracha. Which is, again, the Rebbe canceling himself out. It's only what it says in the books, or what I've been told. It says, what does a bracha mean? Bracha means that every person has hidden qualities inside them, and the bracha is to help them tap into it. So Weiner said, so you mean you elevate the person? He was trying to think that bracha somehow is raising the person up. Somehow the Rebbe is doing something to you. The Rebbe was very careful to say, I'm not doing anything. He said, I wish that were possible. Implying that it's very hard to really get somebody to change. He says, instead what I do is, I make accessible what's above. Meaning I bring down what's above. Bracha means, lavrich means to bring something down, not to bring it up. So when you're watering, it's like you're giving something from above. That's why the rain falls figuratively, symbolically from above, and it doesn't come from the bottom. So that's like the bracha that comes down. So the Rebbe says, I make it possible for them to access. I bring down the higher stories of their building that they don't even know exist, and I bring it down to them. I show them that they have these things. So that's a bracha. A bracha is to bring something from above to bring it below. And that's needed in order to make the seed rot, but reveal its higher essence. Infinite. there has to be some measure of the no. We're all clinging to some meaning behind our lives. We're clinging to some understanding and say, I forgo my understanding. I don't really understand how it works. On Shabbos of Sukkot, so we read something that's very surprising. Why would we read this on Sukkot? The aftermath of the sin of the golden calf. Shabbos Midot. Then we read Gog Magog. Not exactly, and then a lot of people read Koheles, Ecclesiastes, which is a very dim, grim, right, type of book. Why all this in the middle of Sukkos? So the simple understanding is that in Sukkos you feel, because of the joy, because of the connection with Hashem, because you're dancing for 7 days before Hashem. You feel like you're before Hashem. Before Hashem means, I understand, Lifnei Hashem, V'samachta Lifnei Hashem Elokecha. So he comes and tells you, V'ra'ita tachorai v'panai lo yirau. So in the reading, in the Torah reading, we read, you don't understand. Shlomo HaMelech wrote Kohelet after he came back from being taken by a demon, if you want to call it like that. From losing he wasn't a king for a while. Why did he lose his kingship? Because he said Amalti Chkema. Because he said I can understand everything. I'll have many wives and I won't sin. I'll have many horses and I won't sin. I'll have many treasures, a lot of money, and I won't sin. Because I understand the reasoning behind it. So came Hashem and showed him that it's not enough to understand the reasoning. Because there's always something beyond. So even if you think you understand, you have to also know how to say, I don't understand. And the whole story about the demon possessing him, which is basically what we would call schizophrenia today. So that whole schizophrenic episode in his life, it's not schizophrenia, maybe it's a Medrash is trying to get a point across. It's what we call a split personality. He became a split personality, two different people. Those were the most difficult years of his life. So losing that grip on reality was the result of saying, I have a hold on reality. I understand fully what's going on. And when you say I understand fully, that's not the same thing as saying I accept fully. I accept what's going on. That's something else. But to say I grasp, to say I understand. It says the Baal Shem Tov, if you want to stay sane, or if you just want to keep moving forward, you have to be able to say I don't understand. And that's basically what we do on Shabbos Sukkot. We say I don't understand. We don't understand. The whole thing of Gog and Magog, which as far as the Rebbe is concerned already happened during the Holocaust, is that I don't understand. That's the takeaway. I don't understand. There's no explanation. If there is an explanation, Chas v'Shalom, I'll have to go through something else which will make me say, I don't understand. So it's enough. I already don't understand. I don't understand.
Nakuda. Why can't you say, Shem says you're not allowed to eat food? I understand it's an important issue. I don't understand it deeply, but I understand it on my level, at camp. Why you got a total nullification?
If you want to come to a new understanding, you have to go through a nullification of the previous understanding. If you're content with how you understand it, it's fine. That's when you're talking about a mitzvah. Because in the end, you're doing the mitzvahs not because you understand them, but because, like you said, I also accept the fact that I don't fully understand. So you have that, all that. If you want to come to a new understanding, you do have to nullify the previous understanding to some extent. But here we're not talking so much about that. We're talking about how Hashem runs the world, which is a much bigger question. And Sukkot is about how Hashem runs the world. That nullification, Gog and Magog, that's a nullification of my understanding of how the world works. That's a much bigger question than just one mitzvah. And there, if a person feels that he understands, if a person feels he understands God, then his first task is to let go of that. And every time that I feel that I understand, I have to empty myself, to go through a tzimtzum, a contraction, that says, I don't know. That says about Shem that it's the basic dynamic of life. That's the Ratzova show. That's the pulse of life. I understand, I don't understand. So this is all the bittul, hayesh וההשגה הראשונה שלנו. ואחר כך יוכל לעלות להשגה היותר גדולה. And then he comes to a higher understanding. זהו בחינת עמוד שבין גן עדן התחתון לגן עדן העליון. So this is called the column, if you want, I don't know what's called in music, I don't remember. They have a name, the bar. It's like a bar between that connects levels of spirituality, levels of understanding. And music does that. וזהו כל בעלי השיר יוצאים בהשגתם. So all those who have song, meaning that they have some kind of grasp, they come out of their grasp through song. Meaning music has the ability to nullify a person's understanding. Why? Because it's as if there's no understanding there in music. Now, people have many emotions, and you can explain music in terms of emotions, but really what music is doing at some level is it's nullifying your mind, it's nullifying your intellect, it's nullifying your attempt to grasp things rationally. It's above the rational, it's above tam v'dat, it's above the knowledge and the understanding that we have. וזהו כל בעלי השיר יוצאים בהשגתם ונמשכים לעלות למעלה על ידי השיר, ולכן בשעת הקרבת הקורבן הוא צריך להיות גם כן שיר. And that's why in the temple service, when they were bringing the sacrifices, there had to be the Levites singing. כי עניין הקורבנות הוא העלאה ממטה למעלה, because that's what the korbanos do. The sacrifices are like vicariously sacrificing my animal traits, my animal soul. So to elevate it, the point here is not to burn it for its own sake, but to burn it in order to elevate it to a higher state. That requires song, because really the burning itself is not what elevates it. The burning is just, you can call it the nullification. But what elevates, like we said, there has to be a blessing involved. So the blessing comes from the song. The song is bringing something new into the mix. And that, when the song is added to the burning of the sacrifice, so then it comes out as a pleasant smell. And so the shir, the song is added to this nullification in order to facilitate an elevation.
Why does it have to be the Levim?
Levim come from that place. I'm a little cold. Should I turn it off?
No, I reckon.
The Levim's source, the Avad Levihu, is from that place of pleasure, of Gan Eden, the higher Gan Eden, as it were. Okay? So that's why they can bring it down. So Zohar says that there are different types of song. Meaning pleasure or nullification. Different types of blessing. There's a simple song and a double song.
Yeah, single voice or harmonization with another voice.
So that's a simple meaning. Okay? But really, what is it talking about? It's talking about the Sfirot. Shir Pashut is Keter. The sphere that stands by itself is one. That's the crown. Shir Kafur is Chachma and Bina. Is the intellect. And wisdom and understanding. Then there's Shir Meshulash, the three-part song. So that's already the emotions. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet. Loving kindness, might, and beauty. And then there's the quadruple song. Shir Merubah. The Shir Merubah is the Nehim, Netzach Hod Yesod Malchut, the habitual faculties of the soul. So these,
Malchus is also a standalone.
in some cases it's standalone. Sometimes it's part of the bottom four. There's different divisions. So each one of these is a different type of song. There's a song that comes out from the crown. There's a song that comes out from the intellect, from the emotions, from the habits. Okay? From the habits, it's very clear what kind of song comes out. Right? What kind of song comes out from a person who has good habits? If you have good habits, you do the same. You have the same routine every day. What kind of song comes out of that?
No idea.
Yeah, you do.
No.
That's what the Scottish used to do in the English army. There was a drummer boy. Okay? He's drumming. Why is he drumming? He's giving the pace. It's to keep things moving. That's the habit. So anything that has to do with a quadruple song is related to beat. It's like when you want to give a beat, you do it with your foot. That's related to the lower parts of the body. So modern music today is mostly drum machines.
All noise.
It's all noise. Why is it all noise? Because it's just beat. Even the music itself, they've turned into the synthesized sounds are like beats. They're not really music anymore. Anyway, that's a quadruple song. But that's habits. Habits work best when a person has a set pace. And that's how you need to build your life with a beat. That's the thing that people don't get. They don't understand that the clock is there to give you the beat. It's not there, it's for habits. It's not there to tell you when to do something in the sense of something emotional, intellectual, or all the more so something that comes from a higher place. So there's almost a contradiction between davening, which is done with the heart, which is emotions, or intellect, and doing it at a particular time. It's almost a contradiction, because the clock is there to give you the beat, but the emotions don't work by beats. You can't order love in 9 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't work that way. But you can make sure that you brush your teeth at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's say, if you're late. Somebody wakes up late, based on something, on quarters, on 3/4, 4/4, 2/4, 7/8. There's all kinds of. They're all based on the number 4, for whatever reason. I don't understand enough music theory, but they're all related to something quadruple. The emotions, though, they're the triple song. What kind of instruments give you emotions?
Violin.
Strings. That's why we say the strings of the heart. The string is like the string is like it has 3 parts to it. It has the right side, the left side. You have to pull it tight, and then the part that makes the sound is in the middle, depending on where you hit it in the middle. So that's the tiferet. So you've got the chesed and the gvura, and you have the wherever in the middle you're striking the string, whether it be a piano or a guitar or whatever it is, the violin, and you're making the sound in the middle with the beauty, with the tiferet. And that's exactly, and it's the most beautiful. What about, so that's a different type of music altogether. String instruments, the string chamber quartet, whatever people do. And then you have the intellect. The intellect gives off a different type of music altogether. What are those instruments? So those are the wind, what we call the wind instruments, because the intellect is exactly what the soul is. It's the intellect of man. It's the ability to speak. It's everything that goes through the mouth. So basically, all the wind instruments are the intellect. The one instrument that we don't know how to do is the keter instrument. What does the simple song sound like? So the closest we come to it is the shofar. The shofar is, what's it called? So
One note.
it's a one simple note, but it has a name. Apart from being called a shofar, it has another name. What's its other name? Bimshocha yovel, hema ya'alu bahar. In Exodus it says that when the shofar blows, Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron and the Levites, the one who did go a little bit ways up the mountain, so that there were 3 different machanot, 3 different encampments on the mountain, Israel and the Levites and Moshe Rabbeinu was like the Machaneh Shechina, so that their sign to go up was when the shofar blew. But the shofar there is called Yovel. It's called the Yovel, that's its name. That relates to what we have here. This guy's name, his name was Yuval, Yovel. He was the father of all those who played with either a pipe instrument, the yugav, or the string instrument, the kino.
So why wasn't he Jewish? Why wasn't he working in the Beis Hamikdash? Why was he just...
He is working. He's the progenitor of everybody. Meaning the Yovel here, the simple song, is the progenitor of all the other things.
He wasn't designated in the Torah as a godly man, like Hanoch.
What?
Torah
This is very big.
Portray him. There's no mention here of music, spirituality.
You can take it in different ways.
No, it doesn't say that.
In any case, the name...
Called music.
If I was your chief rabbi in the past, Rabbi Sachs, who thinks and says openly that he thinks the stories of Beresheis are mythological, so he would say Yuval is just some name made up. It's only symbolic. There is such a dimension to Torah. There's no question that there's also a symbolic dimension. So in the symbolic dimension, his name was Yuval.
You just said you can't understand anyway, so everything is multifaceted.
Yeah, the question is whether it has a pshat. Was there such a person who was the first man to make wind and string instruments?
We know that
there must have been somebody.
No, it says in the Torah.
Said it, so that's the question.
You accept the Torah or you don't accept the Torah.
No, so he says I accept it, but I don't accept it at the literal level here. Meaning there's nothing that requires me to accept it at the literal level. Said it, yeah, it doesn't matter. The symbolic level exists.
Why did he say that?
Because he doesn't know how to get out of it in any other way. Said it, it's fine.
Get out of what?
He was on a talk show, an interview in England or something. So they asked him about Adam and Eve. He said that's all allegorical. There was no Adam and Eve.
Why did you say that?
You write him a letter. Thankfully in America we're a free country. We don't have chief rabbis. You can think whatever you want. But your former chief rabbi thinks that it's all allegorical. At least that's what he says on TV in Great Britain. Okay. But this is the deep meaning of what's going on here. The Yuval, his name Yuval, Yovel, means that he's taking everything from his crown, from the Yovel, from the shofar. The shofar is the simple note that's the beginning. It's not really the note. Like we said, the sound that the shofar makes is like any other wind instrument. That's not the point. What the shofar does is it brings you to nullification. How? Because it instills fear in a person. That's exactly what we talked about regarding Gog Magog. That the whole point of Gog Magog, the whole fear that it instills in people is not for the fear. It's for the willingness to let go. To let go of my understanding. And so many people who blow the shofar will tell you that the quality of the notes that they can bring out depends on how much nullification they have. So this guy, Yuval, the shofar blower, because of his nullification, he's able to bring out new levels of intellect, which come out as wind instruments, and new levels of emotions, which come out as string instruments. The music that comes out from here and from here. Okay?
Are you coming with me to Tel Aviv?
Sorry?
Are you coming with me?
No, we need to end them. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow.
Yes, just depends on two.